welcome to the DMT Insider podcast. And I'm delighted to be speaking to the award-winning American playwright Liz Duffy Adams, who has written many other plays as well as Born with Teeth, or Dog Act, The Salionaires, A Discourse on the Wonders of the Invisible World, The Broken Machine, and others. In the Houston Chronicle, when the play premiered in 2022, Robert Donahue wrote of Born with Teeth that it can't decide if it is about literature, history, political intrigue, religious persecution, or the wide varieties of love. And that's that's a glorious thing. The play grabs them all and squeezes them into a trim, tight electric production, a jewel of a script. So I'm delighted to welcome Liz to our DMT Insider podcast. Hello, Liz.
Hello, thank you so much. That's so nice.
Before we get into the play, just before you were a playwright, but you were a performer?
Yeah, I mean, ages ago, I started out studying acting. I trained at NYU and ended up at the experimental theater wing there and wrote and devised and performed in sort of downtown New York, little hole-in-the-wall venues, making theater. And I didn't really know how to make a life like that, though. And eventually I tried being a straight up actor and it was a terrible failure. And I was floundering around and I thought, well, I'll write a play. I'll see what that's like, write a play for other people to do. And that just sort of changed my life. It was instantly produced at the only theater I sent it to. And I thought, okay, this is the way to
I can
go.
do this.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think, having been a performer though, does that give you some sort of additional insight into
Mm.
performing?
I very much feel that all that experiences was my training as a playwright. Knowing what actors need, sort of having the sort of stagecraft in your living experience in your bones. So it's not intellectual; it becomes instinctive and second nature. I mean, not to claim anything about my stagecraft, but I think that is the best possible training and experience for a playwright.
Yeah, that's interesting because you're working with the director of the play, Daniel, uh, who is even currently, as we speak, doing both directing and acting. So that double whammy, coming from a different angle, does seem to help inform what the performers have.
Yeah, I mean, we just started. We had the first day of rehearsal yesterday, and everybody, the four of us are one way or another actors. Um, and although I'm in a not to claim too much for my standing, but the sense of collaboration is so rich when everyone is sort of on the same side of the fence.
Yeah, and of course Daniel Evans did perform at Wyndham's Theatre where the place Bournemouth Teeth is going to appear in. It was in no, don't tell me, it was in Sunday in the Park with George. He did the Many a Chocolate Factory production there, which was absolutely brilliant. But it's that he has a wonderful kind of sense of theatre, doesn't he?
Oh God, yeah. And I mean, 2 nights ago, I saw him in Psychosis 448. As you say, he's doing a double act right now, directing during the day and acting at night. It was an extraordinary performance.
Let's get on to Born with Teeth, which is going to be premiering at Wyndham's Theatre, which is directed by Daniel and starring Shuti Gatwa and Edward Bluemel. And is this your first time in the West, having something performed in the West End?
Yeah, it's my first time having anything performed in the UK.
How exciting for
Oh,
you.
very exciting. I mean, starting at the top.
Well, I mean, you come with such a wealth of experience, and you come with a wealth of award-winning plays under your belt.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been around.
Haven't we
Yeah.
all? Haven't we all? But in terms of this actual, can you tell us a bit about Bournemouth Teeth? Because for people that don't know anything about it, and I have to say, I heard a bit about it, but I thought, well, I'll look into it more. My God, it's made me so excited.
So glad to hear that. Yeah. Well, it all started when a few years ago, news came out that the New Oxford editors had proven with computational analysis that Christopher Marlowe had collaborated with Shakespeare on the Henry VI history cycle. And the news wasn't that there was a collaboration because that was very common at the time. Elizabethan playwrights, had to churn out a lot of product. So it was sort of like TV writers' room now. They sometimes collaborated. But, that Marlowe collaborated with Shakespeare was huge news. I mean, it was sort of electrifying because Marlowe at the time was a rock star. He was the big star of the Elizabethan uh, playwriting world. And
And Shakespeare
Shakespeare,
wasn't.
no, he was an up and comer. He'd written a couple of plays. He was a jobbing actor. He was practically a nobody. He was just starting out, and they were the same age. But Marlowe had very much gotten the jump on him and was a whole different level. So the idea of the two of them collaborating, and also, reading their work, you can't help but get a sense of how radically different their sensibilities were, and their personalities must have been, and their approach to life. And Marlowe was a spy and a brawler and sort of a wild man, and Shakespeare was just like, I just want to make a living. I've got a family back home, I want to work. I want to write. I don't want to get mixed up in anything dangerous because it was an extraordinarily dangerous time. A part of my impulse was a little bit iconoclastic because I think the Elizabethan period, has been kind of sentimentalized and romanticized for wonderful reasons, but it was a very dangerous time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do that with all sort of periods in history. I was just talking the other day about Palace of Versailles and the stench that must have been in that palace at that time must have been unbearable to
I
us.
mean, exactly. I mean, the hygienic standards were extraordinary by our lights.
Sorry, but meanwhile, back at Bournemouth Teeth, the title is quite fascinating. What was this inspiration for the title?
I'm very bad at remembering exact quotes, but it's from one of the Henry VI plays. Uh, the character who would become Richard III later on says, "I was born with teeth." The midwives cried, "Jesu, he is born with teeth, and so I was, and so I was born to snap and growl and bite at the world." That's a bit of a paraphrase, but
But such a lovely man, not.
yeah, yeah. And for me, the question is a little bit, well, which of them was born with teeth? Maybe both of them needed to be to succeed,
Well, in those time, well, any time actually, you do need a bit of that, really, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, in terms of their relationship, though, there's not very much at all. So this is all coming from you as your sort of determination of what may have happened, and you go on that journey. How do you develop those ideas? How does that come to your mind?
Hmm. I mean, part of it is just impulsive. Again, I've been reading their work and reading about them pretty much my whole life. And so I was already sort of steeped in a sense of them. And also a wonderful book, The Reckoning by Charles Nicholl, was a big source for me. I read it, 20 years ago or something, and reread it for this about Marlowe. Um, but at a certain point, you sort of mull it over a while, and then just, all right, here's the starting place. Let's just get them in a room and let them start talking and see what I find out. And they just, ran away with me. It was like getting on the back of a horse that gallops away. And all the sort of research I'd ever done is just in the DNA, but not consciously being deployed, just, letting it rip.
How wonderful.
Oh, it's so much fun. I mean,
Yeah,
hard and tormenting and, all the things that
all of that,
playwrights
of course,
complain
of course,
about.
of
Yeah.
course. I did catch a clip of the trailer for the RSC, and I think one could describe the trailer as a little bit racy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's just, I didn't know for certain what would happen in terms of the personal relationship, the sexual relationship, when I started. But as about on page three, I think I remember writing it and thinking, well, what did you think was going to happen when you put those two in a room? Marlowe was really quite openly, the word queer would be anachronistic, but, and of course, in those days, it wasn't a matter of identity. It was a matter of what you did, not who you were. So there was, in fact, a lot more fluidity allowed. I mean, very dangerous and illegal to be what we would call gay, but it was extremely easy to get away with if because it was understood. I mean, it was a men's world. Women weren't fully part of public life. So, that's what happens. And the sense of Marlowe as being queer, a sense of Shakespeare as being fluid, shall we say. And again, it's speculative. It's very much, yeah, what you glean from reading their work and having a sense of them. But also, I think in a funny way, every play is a love story. Every play is political. These things are in everything.
And when you're writing it, do you have people in mind as such? I mean, you couldn't have had Ncuti Gatwa and Edward Blumenmel, but when you wrote it back in the day, did you have anyone specific or particular in mind?
No, I didn't. I mean, sometimes I write parts for sort of an imaginary cast because, yeah, that can be really helpful. And then once in a while you're lucky and you get them, which is fun. But no, it was really just sort of my imaginary characters without actors attached. And I think it's also kind of nice to keep the casting as open as possible. I mean, I'd love to see two women do it one day, for
Ah,
example.
right.
I mean, actually, the first time I heard it was a Zoom reading during lockdown with two gender fluid femme actors, one in London and one in Toronto, and they were brilliant.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I'm really very much in favor of after it's premiered here and anybody come at it.
Come at it if you come if you dare.
Yeah.
And once because it's different for different productions and different writers.
Mm.
One, you have written it, but apparently you've updated it a bit.
Yes.
And by update, what is that? Take making it more English rather than American, or is it a story update? We're just intrigued to kind of
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah. Well, really, it was because when Daniel became involved, he very wonderfully gave me the opportunity to look at it with fresh eyes from the point of view of a British audience. And he felt that the British relationship to Shakespeare is different from the American relationship. It's quite true. And uh, and so we had a series of conversations, and as a result of that, it's not a radical, uh, different text, not radically revised, but it is, I think, enriched and revised in a, I think, really wonderful way. Partly his point of view was that to the British, you understand that there's a limit to what we know about Shakespeare, but that mystery is embraced. Um, so, great theater writer Richard Gilman once used the phrase lucid mystery. He was talking about Chekhov, but that stuck in my mind. I love that. And I think that's the best when you have that sense of it's light filled, it's not murky and confusing, but we don't erase the mystery. So that's what my conversations with Daniel, I think, helped with. And I mean, obviously, he's brilliant and brought all this wonderful insight.
Do you literally, is there a situation where you hand over the script, you give it to him and he takes it over? Because I'm interested that you're in the rehearsals. So is there some kind of interpretation going on? It's just fascinating to understand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's it's by way of being another premiere, right? Because it's the UK premiere and it's a revision, and the playwright is always a part of the premiere. I'm not, and I know a lot about how the play functions from having experienced that, and but I'm there to support their discoveries and their creation of their version of it. But also, it's possible that I'll continue to tweak because again, it is a premiere, and to be in the room and say what these amazing men are bringing to it. I think this line would hit better if it was rephrased, that sort of thing can happen. Or, oh no, we need to cut that. I mean, we actually just cut a scene that I wrote for this revision, and then Daniel and I realized, oh no, that's a mistake. That's not helping the play, so took it back out. Yeah, so it's still a creative, active process.
Oh, sounds like, very much like that. And of course, you may have known Ncuti Gatwa from being Doctor Who, because that's played in America as well.
Yes, yes.
Because you live in New York, don't you?
I saw the first season of Sex Education as well. That's where I first saw him.
Of course, because they were
Yeah,
both in that. Him and
that's
Edward
right.
Blumenmel.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if I saw. I think I caught a glimpse of Edward. In it. Yeah, yeah. But yes, of course, I've seen his Doctor Who is brilliant, and I've seen both of them in television shows. I've never worked with actors before where I had seen them first on the screen and then been in a room with them. It's a funny feeling, but almost immediately it's just, well, they're actors and we're all here to do a job, and it's lovely.
Yeah, there is that thing, isn't that? That's the reality. You're here to do a
Yeah.
job.
Yes. And oh my God, they're wonderful to work with.
And
Very
is this your
collaborative.
obviously you're not in London yet. You're still rehearsing in Stratford, but London. Do you know London? Are you?
A little bit. Yeah, it's a place I've always been attracted to, and I've been visiting on and off for yeah, for the many years.
Yeah, because it's just that those little sensibilities between American and American English, if you like, and British English.
Yeah. Well, I will say I have a little advantage in that I've always been attracted to English literature, starting with British children's literature, Alice in Wonderland and Winnie the Pooh and all of that. I mean, so I've sort of most of my favorite novelists have always been British or Irish, but and also of course British theater writers. So I think that ha helped inform my ear for it.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Ireland there because you have dual citizenship of Ireland and America, like the late great Dame Angela Lansbury. How does that work? How do you?
Well, it doesn't really work in any practical sense. I mean, I got my Irish citizenship through my Dubliner grandmother years ago. Do you know, it always felt, for a long time, it sort of felt like as an American, it might be nice to have a bolt hole if things go authoritarian. I sort of hoped it would never come to that.
That's a whole other podcast.
I haven't actively used my Irish citizenship, and I'm sorry to say I've spent very little time there. And I wanted I visited briefly a couple of times. I'd really like to do an extended stay and delve into it more. I'm a great admirer of Irish literature, and yeah.
And in terms of projects, do you tend to do one project at a time, or do you have several on the go, or at different stages?
Traditionally, I've always been one thing at a time, not a multitasker, but at the moment, I do have several things at different stages, and I've found, oh yeah, it's perfectly possible. Because you've got something you're writing, you're generating new, and then there's something you're revising, and then something that is further down the pipeline, you're revising in a different way. And yeah, so it's actually kind of nice because then I really like to work. And it's nice to always have something to turn to instead of coming to a dead stop and thinking, oh no, what am I doing? What am I working on?
Yeah, yeah. So from that point of view, it's quite reassuring, I guess, to have other
Yes.
things rather than, oh my God, what's next?
Yeah, 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 indeed.
And is there anything you can tell us about that's coming up? Have you?
Well, I'm just working on a adaptation of The Roaring Girl by Thomas Dekker and Thomas Middleton. Jacobean. I never know.
Jacobean.
You say Jacobean. Uh,
You say Jacobean?
let's call the whole thing
Let's
off.
cut the whole thing off.
Yeah, for a theater in New York called Red Bull Theater. So I'm working on that, and I'm working on a commission for the Alley Theater in Houston, who premiered Born with Teeth in
One
the
with teeth.
States. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we wish you all the very best with well, we're really looking forward to having the play at Wyndham's.
Oh, may I just say, what a beautiful theater. Oh my
Oh
God.
yes, you
The
may.
most
You may.
beautiful theater in the world. It's a jewel box. I'm over the moon.
Actually, I remember when we took Patrick Stewart round to look at it before he did a play. He sort of stood in just at the front of the stage, facing towards the auditorium, and put his hands out and clapped and said, "This is one of," with I couldn't do his voice, but that sonorous kind of delicious chocolate voice. This is one of the most beautiful auditoriums to play to, and what a wonderful sound. And I thought, well, coming from him, that's quite good.
That's an imprimatur.
Yeah. So hopefully, with Born with Teeth, we will get the same level of drama, the same level of excitement as you hope it will be, because from what I've seen and what I've read, I think we're in for a real treat. So
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you so much.
That's very kind of you. And Liz, we'll let you go because I know you're going back to rehearsals.
Oh, that's right. But it's been a pleasure and thank you very much.
Not at all. So, Born with Teeth will have its UK premiere in a revised version for the Royal Shakespeare Company at Wyndham's Theatre, directed by RSC co-artistic director Daniel Evans and starring Ncuti Gatwa and Erbert Blumel. Previews from the August 13th, the production will run through to November. Tickets are on sale through the RSC and also Delfont Mackintosh Theatres, of course. But thank you for listening, and thanks to Liz, and until next time, bye-bye.